Yeah,
pellets. But it's rained out there. It's been great. We've had 16 inches of rain there since Okay. You okay with it? Ready?
Now I'm like, where's my pens? I don't have anything. Good to see you.
Okay, it's 3:40 on October the 3rd, 2024. Scott Holt, Chair of the Nature Preserve Technical Advisory Board, and our meeting is called to order. The first item is citizen comments. There are no citizens in the agenda, other than board members. The second, the next item on the agenda is the Nature Preserve Manager report.
All right, thank you. Okay, so this is in your packet. So this, we haven't met in a while, so this is kind of a little summary of the last year, I guess. But we did hold a prescribed, so I just broke it into kind of different categories. Land management, we had a prescribed fire in August. That was successful. We burned about 98 acres, so some on along the ship channel, and then there was some islands between the South Trail and the airport out there, upland islands within the nature reserve. So it's the grass is, growing back right away, and some of those areas we're gonna try and target with herbicide. We were also thinking that some of those areas where the hogs were spending time, and so we've also since then we've removed 9 hogs from the nature reserve. So now we're going to be moving our trap to another location. We have worked on 21.3 acres of Brazilian pepper tree this past year. So we sprayed along the South Trail, so that area was not accessible. Well, easily accessible without the trail. So once we put the trail in, the contractors were able to, drive the herbicide out on an ATV and spray the pepper tree. And then I have some money left over from that project to retreat some other areas. We're going to get that started soon. Just 2 weeks ago, we had about 15 acres of Brazilian pepper tree that was already dead, shredded or mulched on different city properties and at the nature reserve. And then there was another 35 that were kind of being monitored and sprayed. So not a lot of spraying really, but just whatever was regrowing. So a lot of pepper tree work, which we have planned more for next year. And then this year we planted 120 trees and shrubs, and most of them were at Paradise Pond.
Before you leave the pepper tree thing.
Yeah.
Are you at Nature Preserve still continuing to work on that 67-acre patch that was cleared?
Yeah.
So sort of taking that under your wing and.
Sort of, yeah. So that's one of the areas for this extra funds I had for retreatment. I'm gonna, from the pavilion, basically, in the nature reserve into the 67 acres. I need to see how much that would cost just to kind of do a few rounds of retreatment, just monitor the area. And there's not that many pepper trees, but there's a lot of white lead tree on the 67 acres. That's growing back. That just seems, there's a lot of seeds, so maybe that's it. But so white lead tree would be included in that. But a lot of it backs up to the community park trail. There's a pretty good amount of white lead tree in there. And then the city also recently acquired those wetlands behind the IGA. So that was part of the area that I shredded the pepper trees. So now, that was a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna have a contractor go in there and spray when they start regrowing. Because there was a pretty good couple acres, pretty dense pepper trees towards the back of that property, which may or may not become part of the nature reserve. I'm not really sure, but I just wanted to get rid of the pepper trees. So, yeah, we're gonna try to stay on top of that, on that property. Okay, so we've done a little bit of outreach and programs. We had our tree giveaway last year, and so October 12th, we're having, we'll have 500 more trees to give away. That's in just 2 weeks. We had a bunch of field trips and civic groups that came out. Whooping Crane Festival, which will be again, the 20th through the 23rd of February. They had about record number of people registered, about 3,000 people last year. We're continuing our weekly and monthly programs, nature walk, yoga, birding on the boardwalk. We had a good turnout with the Great Texas Birding Classic. We had 3 teams that the city kind of helped organize. And the Birding Center team won first place in the Big Sit. So we'll be getting a conservation grant for that project for the Birding Center. Our volunteer group has continued every Thursday. In the summer, it was every other Thursday. We had clocked about 500 hours with them in 2023. Looking forward to the Winter Texans coming back, because that's when most of that is happening, when it's a little cooler. And we have a few different research projects going on in the nature reserve too, with the local universities, University of Houston, the bird monitoring with the estuary program, and the Army Corps of Engineers. Which I didn't include that in here, but I guess I'll talk about that project a little bit. That's with the Texas Gulf Region Cooperative Weed Management Area. So we have the Army Corps of Engineers are releasing thrips on the pepper trees in the nature reserve. So there was a USDA, I guess it's through APHIS permit, and they've been doing it in Florida for like 20 years.
The Corps
Research on it.
does
Mhm. So they were working
Why
in,
does the Corps do that? I mean,
yeah,
it's
so
like, hey, but what-
it is-
that's
I
an odd
was-
thing. Why is
when
that?
this all started, it was all of us, we were like, what? But they were doing restoration in the Resacas in South Texas. And then there was pepper trees, so then they started looking at biocontrol, because they have this lab up in somewhere like near Denton. Where they have they're growing all kinds of things, mostly for like aquatic invasive plants biocontrol. But because this project with the pepper trees, they got involved with the thrips. But you know, most of it is navigation aquatic issues that the Army Corps is researching. So but we got connected with the CWMA because one of the foresters is an entomologist who was in Florida. And anyway, they just kind of linked up, and they had been releasing them at a fort, like a National Historic Site in Brownsville. I can't think of the name of it. And they wanted to maybe they wanted to try another site, so they released them in Port Aransas, so they weren't surviving the summer down there. And they were thinking it's too hot, you know, in Brazil, or there. It's probably a denser forest and cooler and more rain and different. We were initially thinking maybe the winter would be the issue, but it seems like they're not surviving the summer. They said maybe Port Aransas is a little bit cooler. Well, it is, but Justin went out a week or 2 ago, and he didn't find any thrips that survived. So, but we did see evidence of them reproducing and eating the leaves. But we're scheduled to start releasing again in 3 weeks. So it's like a 3-year project, right? I think we're in year 2, because they had
And
to start rearing
The
them.
theory is they eat the plants.
Yeah, they like
They
the,
don't eat anything else.
they'll eat the flowers. Yeah, they like the fresh growth. Yeah, before they give a permit for something like this, they test all the related plants. They test, any important economic food or fiber crops, you know, all that to make sure that it's really only gonna, it's a highly specific bug that's only gonna eat this plant and maybe this plant, you know, but not anything that's native or important to our economy. And so that we've learned, it's not, they explained that years ago, there was a lot of horror stories because there wasn't that permitting process maybe. So the don't seem to be surviving, so I don't think it's gonna be a problem. So hopefully, I don't know if we can release more. I'm not really sure what the strategy is gonna be to see if they can, if they'll survive. Maybe, I don't remember when we got started with the releases this year. Was it? I don't know.
It's fine. But one of the things is they mentioned was it's not a, it's more of a controlled maintenance strategy. It's not going to actually like reduce a mature tree. They really only focus on that new growth, like the bright green
Mhm.
material. And they said, I think one of the other reasons why they came to Port A was because Brownsville, they weren't doing active
Oh, yeah.
control, so they wanted to see how the plant, how the bugs did on plants that had been recently treated. And if it could be more of a, it could like reduce your need to retreat every three, like every 3 to 6 months, maybe you only have to retreat like once a year. If these bugs are able to keep the new growth more under control.
Yeah, and reducing the flowers is gonna reduce all the seeds, so.
Yeah, there is no active that I know of. Treatment for Brazilian pepper. I've mentioned it to the irrigation districts that they should reach out and maybe like create a weed management area.
Oh, yeah, down there.
I mean, but I don't, there's so many weeds to attack down.
Yeah, that's true.
I've mostly seen them on the edges of the resacas.
Yeah,
But as long, I mean, as soon as it starts affecting the capacity of the resaca, then they'll start paying attention to it.
mhm. Yeah, interesting. So, anyway, maybe we'll have more info next year if they're actually reproducing and keeping the population going. I mean, I don't know, it's a lot of work to release them, so to have to do that every year. Also, we're pretty, you know, being kind of aggressive with the management, so it's like cutting all the trees down, trying to. Where are they, how are they gonna survive? So, but we left a couple little trees in certain areas that we've worked. So, that are, you know, flagged for their study. So. Okay, so. All right, so the Paradise Pond project was completed last fall, about a year ago. And then we planted a bunch of more trees last, winter and spring. So we are finally gonna have a, celebration and ribbon cutting in 2 weeks. We were having issues with our invite we were trying to send out, but it should be sent out tomorrow morning, but, Joan and Scott are gonna be there, we've confirmed, and some other people that were involved with the creation of, Paradise Pond, so, which was now 22 years ago, so. It's looking really good over there. Colleen walked through, she hadn't walked through in a while, and she was like, she's very happy because
Yeah, it looks much better.
the willows have gotten a lot
Just
bigger.
warmed over for a few years, but it's looking much better.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of birds this fall. So the trees are growing, the willows, so we've been continuing to just propagate more willows and then plant them and then propagate and plant. So we have like a little wetland in our hoop house. Little pond kind of, so keeping them wet. And we've had a lot of different groups help us plant them, and we were still discussing maybe wanting to do a planting associated with this, but I don't know, or maybe we'll just plant some the day before with volunteers. I don't know. We haven't really decided, but we do have some more to plant and then we'll get some more going this winter. But the trees that we planted on the other side have even gotten pretty, you know, grown quite a bit in the last year. So it's getting there. So, okay, and then the last of our Harvey repairs are well underway. The Salt Island Trail is almost done. They're laying the granite down on the trails, the boardwalks are done, and they're finishing up the shade structures. So it's supposed to be done by November 1st. They might have some things to do a little closer to land, like pavilion and stuff, but we really stressed that the boardwalk and all the construction out there needs to be done because of the whooping cranes. So that's pretty much all done, which is great. We were also able to add in, I think it was 5 of I think they're 8 feet long and bump out 3 feet on each side, so like little passing zones. So they're building those on the Salt Island Trail and the South Trail, because we've had people setting up tripods and then people trying to walk by with the bike, and so we're hoping that'll help that a little bit. If you want to stop and wait, there'll be like these kind of little wider areas every so often. So they're done with those out there on the Salt Island. They need to do the South Trail still. So I think there'll be 2 on that one, South Trail. There's just that long boardwalk from the birding center basically to the tower. Okay, so we had this restore grant that taken a very long time to get to this point, but we've selected a contractor. And we've also added in some city projects to get a better save some money mobilizing with the construction crew. So with the restore funding, which is from the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, and it's administered through TCEQ, we're going to be resurfacing the Clays Hill Trail and putting some shade structures up there, extending the bollard and cable system around Paradise Point neighborhood. There's the section around there, and then kind of down along the boundary that'll go kind of up to where the water tower is. And then resurfacing the existing birding center parking lot. And then the city is funding the new birding center parking lot. So the dirt lot, if you've been over there, north of the parking lot, will become a parking lot with, I think it was 44 more parking spaces. And then we're gonna do the final trail connection from the birding center to the South Trail. So that dirt area, we've walked through there. So that is all gonna be starting probably in November. We haven't got, city council approved the contractor, but we haven't had the contract executed yet. And then the other things will be doing our planting trees and educational signage with that grant. And okay, so the city submitted 2 Kepler grants for the GLO. That's the Coastal Erosion Protection and Response Act. And we have a contract with the GLO for the restoration of Charlie's Pasture. So the land that we lost from Hurricane Harvey the last time we met. The engineer gave a presentation on ideas of what could be done out there. But this is taking a really long time. We got a contract with the city with them, but we're gonna have GLO manage the grant. So that way we don't have to pay the engineers and then get reimbursed. They will just directly work with the GLO. But they still don't have a scope of work approved with the engineering firm and they haven't really communicated with them. So it's just taking a long time.
Is that with Stantec?
Yeah. So, and again, that's really for design and permitting of what could be done, not construction. GLO still hasn't. So just beyond the bulkhead that the city repaired is still another opening in the rock revetment, that's the GLO's project. So that hasn't been done yet either. So there's still water flowing through there. But it will be closed off from what I understand, that, you know, just putting bigger rocks, and they're finalizing their design still. They don't have a permit, so. So it's all moving slowly, which it might all work out to be at the right time when it happens. I don't know.
Is that second opening causing much erosion? I mean, the first one?
Not really. It's not very deep. But you can see the water moving in and out, pretty, you know, fast when the ship comes through. But it's not like it was when it was wide open and just like cliffs of sand falling into the,
Yeah, yeah.
into the water. So,
Does it need to still be permitted? With the Corps of Engineers?
mhm. Yeah. They said they didn't wanna, or they couldn't finalize their design until we were done with our construction. The GLO's engineers, so. So then they would finalize that and submit it for their permit.
Oh,
So that, yeah, and then when we were doing the bulkhead construction, the city was finding that these panels, these concrete panels that are, this is the seawall part, that the city's owns, I guess, there was scouring underneath. And then there was some washout on the land side. And so the city has been putting under the permit of the bulkhead, some rock there to help trap sediment and reduce that, but it's not enough. So the city wanted to put a whole rock revetment along the bulkhead. And so we submitted another KEPRA grant for that. And initially we were not on the priority list, but we were moved to the priority list like a couple months ago. So that again is just for design and permitting, but we don't have that contract either yet. So, but there was a couple different spots where that was happening. So it's kind of an immediate need for sure. And that's protecting the road to Charlie's Pasture and all that recreation space. So yeah. But what they did for now seems to be helping the situation, so. So yeah, so the KEPRA project, that money from last year's budget's kind of been rolled over to, or carry forward to the next, to this year. 'Cause today's now our third day of the new fiscal year. And then the birding center improvements and the trail, that was all budgeted last year, but then we packaged it with the restore grant and then got delayed on a lot of things with that, so that's carried forward. So a lot of things we budgeted last year were moved into this budget. The one thing I did budget with the city was to improve the front of Paradise Pond this year, so we added that to our budget. That was something that we all discussed, the parking area, the entrance. All of that, so we have $80,000 budgeted for the driveway, and parking in the front. So I've been trying to get in touch with someone about, there's like a AEP pole in the kind of middle. I mean, it's not, it's like right there. And it's about 3 feet into our property, inquiring about whether or not that could be moved somewhere else. So that way we could put a sidewalk to walk into the Paradise Pond. Anyway, I got some new phone numbers today, so I'm gonna try those tomorrow. But just an idea, so we might, we'll definitely want to meet and discuss that again. But the funds just became available kind of to us 2 days ago, so. I guess I skipped over CBVP is gonna have kind of a larger Brazilian pepper tree project this year that they are going to work on our new, the Salt Island Trail that just rebuilt, so treating the pepper trees along that trail system. I won't have to hire the contractor. They will. So, and then, oh, the other thing that was kind of bigger that we added to our budget was some more bollard and cable along Ross Avenue. we noticed there was like a golf carts kind of joyriding out there, and Justin found that there was some tracks that came through here. So because the line, this is like coming from the community park, it just ends out there. So putting some bollards up there.
Are you still putting cable between the bollards?
Yeah. Yeah,
Are you using concrete bollards or?
this would be wooden. The new ones we're putting them at their store are wood too, because those concrete ones are I don't think anyone will make them.
I don't think so either. And if you find someone that will, please let me know.
Yeah, I know you had trouble with the wood with the fires, right?
So one thing we're evaluating and aesthetics wise, we'll see, but the concrete car stops that you use in parking spaces. Just repurposing those as bollards, turn them on end.
Oh, okay.
So that's something we're evaluating because they're readily available. They're already precast. You can get them about the truckload. Because fire,
Yeah.
the fire prep with wooden poles is significant. So
Yeah. The last fire, I noticed that, but I
But you
remember you
can't
had
put
said that.
Cable through it, right?
there are holes already drilled. Yeah, so
Alright.
you can, if you orient it right, you could probably fish a cable through there or use that hole to mount an eye bolt that would hold the cable. So
I guess, I don't know, I heard Jake or someone say they're kind of doing away with the cable and
Yeah.
just putting the bollards closer together.
yeah.
They're rusting or they'll get.
Yeah.
Yeah, we pretty much eliminated all of our cable, even though our poles along the 361 are 40 feet apart.
Mhm.
Only because of the prep involved. It allows us to get a tractor in and out, and primarily we don't have, traffic issues out there for us, but
The golf carts are very narrow,
yeah,
so they put all the bollards along Port Street. You could drive a golf cart right through 'em.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know. For now, at least with the restore money, we have the money to put the cable in, so.
Yeah.
And they are restringing, actually, a part of the Harvey repairs for the Salt Island trailer. They restrung the bollards on Port Street and are repairing a bunch of them. And then the city's paying to repair a bunch more.
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of them cracked because they have that stucco on the outside.
Yeah.
I mean, that looks really nice, but until it doesn't.
yeah. And that, that's one thing we're not sure, the precast isn't necessarily at the same, same density of concrete as some things and. As we experience with our not our bollards, but our buildings that are all concrete, the spalling that happens, so the salt gets to the rebar that they use to strengthen it and it rusts and blows apart. So
Mhm.
whatever saves me a bunch of weed eating for 5 miles in each direction, we're gonna try it.
Yeah.
So,
That's interesting though. Like to see how that looks. Did you put any of those in yet? No.
not yet. No, we're getting ready to.
Yeah.
Have you all ever used, there's that, it's a mower, it's a side to attached, it hits a fence post, goes around it, and then goes around it, and
We've evaluated those because I've seen those for like farm and ranch where you can mow under the barbed wire and it. I think our grass, especially in the park, is so thick that I'm not sure that it would do well. So I haven't been able to talk anybody into buying me that and trying it. Although I've said if it doesn't work for us, we have parks everywhere that could use it.
Oh.
So maybe one day we have tried a flail mower,
Mhm.
like arm mounted, but to manipulate that around a pole, it just was not a time saving measure for us. So,
Yeah, we did have one of those mowers.
Yeah.
And we had it for a couple of years. I don't know if we still have it.
Okay.
I'll check in case. We don't use it exactly because of that.
okay,
But now we're just taking out all the fences.
yeah,
So we're just burning through everything.
right.
But I'll check to see if we still have it and then I'll bring it down for you.
This kind of resonates with my text dot conversation earlier, like how much can I put on them to say, oh, you've taken out the wooden bollards? Well, we don't want wood anymore. We need concrete. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's all I had unless anyone has any questions, any more questions.
So this picture that you have of
Yeah.
the Paradise Pond, the red is inside that city property.
Yeah.
So there's
Interesting, huh?
a lot of area there along the side of the Juan's Restaurant, but if you ever decide to actually use it, it would take a lot of their space up, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So one thing we discussed is putting like, maybe not a fence the whole way, maybe little bits of fence potentially, to maybe allow for the flow through, but to stop the parking in our driveway, basically, because you can't get in there, and if we want to put a sidewalk in so people can walk in, that's gonna restrict the road even more, but turns out we have plenty of space to do that. It's just that you don't feel like you do because it's taco line. So.
That's right. It's the drive-through.
So, so yeah, that's why I want to definitely evaluate that, and really come up with a good plan before we go ahead with this. That guy I did talk to also about, is that there's this patch of grass and a flower bed over here that everyone parks in anyway. So just removing that, and we have enough space to add a parking space over there. I mean, we have plenty of vegetation in the Paradise Pond. We can remove that flower bed. So that's another idea. But yeah, that's a pretty accurate. We went out and found, the corners. We had it surveyed for the replatting of Paradise Pond,
Okay,
so. Yeah, I
okay,
don't know.
thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, and maybe I missed it or it's in here, what's the status of the design for the water tower facility?
Oh, yeah,
Or is that,
I just said, that was another thing that was carried forward. I was trying to make this a little bit, I guess, not as much because a lot has happened. So the Parks and Wildlife, they never released the boating access grant last year. I think they had some turnover of employees, and anyway, they tell me that grant will be either due or opened in February. The application for
Alright.
voting access, so we could apply for actual, they said, basically you would apply the first time for design and engineering. And then, you would apply, the next round or two round, whatever, the next time for construction. So, and then I'm not 100% sure we want to go with the firm that did the conceptual design. So that's why I know I look back and we were gonna have them give a presentation. So I think
just read.
maybe we would like to work with someone else. And so we can kind of more discuss that again. Maybe the
What's
next
the
meeting.
concept there? Like a kayak launch
Mhm.
or full boat ramp?
No, just kayak. Yeah, so when you leave town,
Yeah.
the water tower, it's that property just north of there.
Right.
So the boating access grant, they told me they would pay for like roadways, parking, if you wanted, fish cleaning or bathroom, anything, and the ramp, any infrastructure associated with the boating part of it. But then, if you remember, there was like a bunch of other stuff going on the property. There was like nature trails and playground, so that would be like maybe a phase later, a different funding, or the city could fund that to add those other recreational stuff. So, so yeah, maybe if the next meeting, we could discuss that a little bit more. I mean, we could just work with. I don't know, because the kayak thing was a little bit tricky. I was gonna say we would work with the city engineer to design, just infrastructure. I don't know what to think about it, but we have some time.
Yeah, we had talked a while back of maybe having like the loop could also include going down to the cone. Not the cabana, but the boat dock.
Mhm.
But, I mean, they could get out, I guess, have a picnic table or something, but then
Yeah,
they would get back up and it'd be an easy little loop.
Yeah.
And they don't have to access from that track, they could access from the water tower.
right. Yeah, and the paddling trail people were real excited about all that.
Yeah, being able to tie in.
Mhm.
And I don't know what we would need for infrastructure in that. I mean.
I think we were
pretty easy
leaning
to come in
towards,
and out right there.
yeah, and I think even in the city park, we were leaning towards minimal because of hurricanes.
Yeah,
Not having a floating dock and all this stuff that could be destroyed, but maybe just a clear area.
I know when we get involved in projects like playground replacement, something like that, like it goes from, hey, this playground facility's in bad shape, can we replace it? You sure can, but now you have to, repave everything for ADA accessibility. It has to have sidewalks. You have to make sure there's a restroom in close proximity that's ADA accessible. So it just kind of, for us, it grows into this major project. I don't know what kind of regulations y'all may have to have some of those facilities or not. But for us, that's a lot of barrier for us, is to take a fairly small project that just snowballs into something that's unattainable almost sometimes.
Yeah, well, this would probably, it's federal funding, I think, through the boating access, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, for
Something to
you,
think about, yeah.
it will require that.
But a lot of that can be accomplished a lot of different ways. I mean, if it's a Porta Can facility, they make ADA accessible, and
Mhm.
that, just a contract for cleaning and maintenance. So I don't know.
yeah. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, other than, that probably is something that ought to be a separate topic
Yeah, for
for one of
sure,
our meetings, so we have the background material, and
yeah, reminder of what we were
particularly
doing.
after you get to a point of knowing something about the grant requirements, but it requires all this
Right.
kind of things that Scott was talking about. It, yeah, sound like a snowball pretty quick.
It
Yeah,
certainly does.
it's a lot.
Hang on.
It may make you reconsider federal funds.
Oh, yeah, we do now, we follow ADA guidelines anyway, but, it's like another level.
Yeah.
Seems like, or just other regulations too.
Right.
When there's federal funds involved.
Okay. No other question or comments about the manager's report? Thank you. So item 4, several items in it. The one is approve the minutes from the July 26th board meeting. And those minutes were sent out. I don't know if they're in this packet, but
Yeah.
they're in here.
Mhm.
Did anybody take the opportunity to read them, and are there any comments about it? Do I hear a motion that we accept the minutes of the July 26th, 2023 meeting?
A motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The next item is discussing the update to the city. So is this an update to the Parks Code ordinance? Or is it only, or is it a part of update of all city ordinances?
Just the parks. Due to just having new facilities and some more emerging issues, we decided we wanted to look at it, and there was a lot of confusion in it. So,
So.
Yeah.
So again, we went over this,
mhm,
the previous meeting.
Mhm.
And now there's, as part of the packet, there was, I guess what's considered, proposed as the final version of the ordinances, is that correct?
yeah, or at least the main kind of changes. Now, there was two things, only two things that really, cause so the Parks Board also looked at this a few months ago, like 2 months ago, maybe. So they made, a few updates also, and then we're leaning on us for, and said basically certain things that were really nature reserve centric, that we could make decisions on that. So I guess, well, there was one issue that we wanted to discuss that was not in here, was drones. And then the other issue I wanted to kind of zero in on and make sure we were good with the decision was the e-bikes.
What is the,
The electric bikes.
okay, can I make a comment real quick?
Oh, yeah.
On the drones?
Yeah.
Will that also consider, like miniature airplanes, model airplanes and aerial flying? I have seen some of that really cause a lot of disturbance on birds.
Yeah, in general, it's not worded as drones, but unmanned aircraft. So
So
that
that's the whole thing.
yeah.
UAV.
And I did see it like a state park. So state parks and national parks don't allow drones. Maybe you can talk about that more, but I did see that there was like some state park that had some area where you could do that. Use model aircraft, like maybe that was a popular thing, there was a field or something maybe,
Yeah,
but we're not gonna do that here.
Yeah, it can vary. So parks can designate sites. And that's even debated within our department, depending on which kind of program you talk with. Our natural resource is holistically against it. Some aren't, for us in particular, the balance of the regulation that they're not allowed in combination with the use for fishing, right? So that's come up specifically in this area. And so I don't know that I have full resolution even in my mind related to that. And so that's one of the weird exceptions, but like a traditional park primarily would follow with the exception of like a special event or some type of commercial venture with like they're shooting a commercial or some filming event. That can be done by permit only. And so that would be reviewed, looked over based on the time of year, potential impacts, things like that, for special approval. But the recreationalists to just come out, launch a drone and fly it around, by and large is prohibited.
Yeah, so we, Justin and I we just found, like, the city of Houston has an ordinance within their parks. Or their city ordinance says, a person may not operate a drone or model aircraft in a park except in a specifically designated area. And it must remain in their operator's line of sight. And it has, unless, otherwise authorized in writing by the park superintendent. So they have something in there. I talked to the head game wardens and they said, there is federal and state law against, you can't harass wildlife with drones, so you can't get so close to make them fly. But that's so hard to enforce, so that's why we were discussing too, maybe we just need to say no drones, potentially. I was on a nature walk 2 weeks ago, and there was a drone like probably 15 feet above my head, just watching us, I guess. I couldn't see anybody that had it, we were looking everywhere, the 4 people I was with. That was just kind of weird. But Justin said that's against the law. Because,
I was explaining to Ray
Yeah.
too, for us, our regulation applies for within the park. You're not allowed to launch them, fly them, or land them. But if one were to be launched from outside the park, we have no regulatory authority over the airspace, so. So we do get them in the park, we see them. And obviously, if we see them operating it from within the park, then we'll make contact, but otherwise, it's a challenge, just because, in a lot of parks, it's gotta come from within the park, or you're on private property, right?
Mhm.
Abutting other public spaces makes it a challenge for us, so. Something to think about too.
yeah. So I was looking at all the houses, in Paradise Point, thinking it was someone there maybe, but
Yep.
it could have been. Also, Justin said it could have been someone sitting in their house behind the window. I don't know, but. That they didn't seem to disturb any wildlife, but. It was weirding me out that it was right there above my head. But that's okay, but we were worried about, there was a guy last year who. Took the drone and went through the 3 flamingos that were out there and had photos of the flamingos flying, so. He obviously had it real low. And
And
then,
maybe cause them to fly.
yeah, exactly. And then, and everybody jumped on him, like, it was crazy, actually. The Birds of Texas Facebook page. Banned him, and there was all this that happened, but I mean, people were. Like totally on our side, that you shouldn't be using a drone for wildlife photography, you shouldn't be out there, you shouldn't, but, so I think he might have learned his lesson, I don't know, I think he's. Still potentially using it in the nature reserve. But, and then the nesting birds, if anybody was flying low around them. Whooping cranes.
Do you have like a permit process? In place?
I have, I created a, research permit
Mhm.
that I just signed. Maybe we should do something more official, but, to allow people to, go off trail. And set out sensors or whatever they're doing, so,
Well, and here, the way it's worded under the general rules, exemptions to rules and regulations may be made when identified in a special event permit approved by the city manager and parks director. I mean,
yeah,
I think that's vague enough to allow for, any special circumstance where
mhm,
y'all need to do some kind of burn survey or,
Yeah.
something, some LiDAR, something related to true research.
Yeah.
You've got your authority to permit those.
yeah, I mean, Justin did take photos of the burn site with the drone, so. I mean,
And they're a great way to do surveys. Like if you really
Yeah.
want to see is
Yeah.
Brazilian pepper greening up here and here, you could
Mhm.
fly and
yeah,
do things like that, but.
I mean, I think y'all could easily, address the launching and operation of a drone from, within the park. I mean, I think that's an easy one to
mhm,
address. I just don't know that it's gonna solve all issues with drones.
Yeah.
And so I think until clear regulations come out for that, like related to airspace, it may
mhm.
still be a little bit of a challenge, but at least you can deal with like, this is not where you
Yeah.
come to fly your drone.
Yeah, so yeah, when the Houston one says the person may not operate a drone in a park.
Right.
But I guess. Does that mean you're standing there with this?
Kind of,
If you're
Yeah,
outside
but
the
it-
park, it doesn't.
it's kind of vague, right? So
Yeah.
it leads you to believe it's like, I'm not sure if I can or not, so I better not, right?
Right, yeah. Okay, so I guess, does everyone think then we should add that to our ordinances? For the,
Right, yeah.
All the parks
That-
I think so.
or just the nature preserve,
I think
all the
it
parks?
should not be left out,
Yeah,
and it's not, it's not being addressed at all.
And
And
I'd probably say UAV so that it's all encompassing.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
you may have to say something like, including drones, fixed wing.
yeah,
Aircraft, et cetera, something like that, so.
but not limited.
I think UAS is like the one that encompasses everything,
Okay.
aerial systems, so. For that.
Okay. Okay, well, yeah, there's all kinds of research showing how disturbing they are, but you guys kind of know that, so. All right, well, that sounds good. So basically I'll just, take any further revisions we had back to Colleen. So the only other thing really that I think was left was the bicycles. And bring this up again. Which last time we had said, so this is in general rules. All motorized vehicles, including but not limited to battery or gas powered bicycles, tricycles, scooters. Must remain on paved or on roadways, driveways and designated parking areas only.
Where is it?
General rule 18-242. It's number 1,
Page 16 of 21.
sorry, yeah.
Where?
Now. When they're in operation as a, e-bike, although bicycles can go really fast too. It's the speed. That, and Colleen feels the same way, that bothers her about it, with the wildlife and really, just in general, but I do see people riding regular bikes out there, trying to get their heart rate up, exercising. And going fast, and I do see a variety of people out there on bicycles, which is nice too, people are using the nature reserve that might not go out there otherwise. But then on the other hand. I hear all these people that all they have is an e-bike. They come here for 3 months and they only have an e-bike, they don't have a regular bike. So then I feel like. And then some of those people I know, and they're like, we'll pedal through there, we're gonna leisurely bike ride through there, but we have an e-bike because it fits in our RV nice and we can get around town quick or whatever. So that's kind of the dilemma I'm at. I know last time we discussed how you could say you could pedal it, but you have a motor on it. So how do you know? But so many of these things are so hard to enforce anyway. We don't have park police. So anyway, I just don't know what to do. We were even saying we should take a survey in town and see how many regular bikes are left. None of these kids have regular bikes anymore. I mean, your kids are older, right? They all have e-bikes, their friends.
Yep.
They still have a regular bike, but.
Oh,
Yeah, you're not cool anymore.
I just bought a new bike and it's a regular bike.
So it's like, I don't know, I mean, there are some regular bikes in town still left to rent. There's one person, I think,
How fast do these e-bikes go?
well, there's different classes of e-bikes too. So,
Yeah.
class whatever.
There's class like 1, 2, 3, and some of them go 40 miles an hour. Usually the lowest class, like unassisted, is like limited to just under 20.
Oh, that's so fast.
Yeah, that's fast.
And I was like, should you put a sign of like miles per hour or something?
Well,
Keep
we
it
did
low.
discuss that. I mean, there, actually,
There is a speed
Right.
limit.
I think it's 5 miles per hour,
Yeah.
even on the road.
Like in the parks in town, in the roads in the parks.
Yeah.
This is all pertaining to parks, right?
Once you enter the park, I think it's 5 miles per hour.
You know, we've had this debate in state parks for a while as e-bikes have kind of come onto the scene and obviously grown wildly in popularity with currently they're not allowed on our trail systems, even, you know, even where bikes are allowed. Um, we propose the allowance of them, certain class bikes.
Mhm.
And I don't know all the politics involved, but if we were told no, like. So state parks was for kind of moving into this realm. And I don't know if it was our commission or some at a higher level.
Okay.
The initial argument early on, because I was like, if we look at things from a resource perspective, a bike's a bike, right? It's a tire's a tire, if I'm pedaling it, or if I have electric assist. And for us, you know, trying to get the public engaged in the outdoors, right? Come out, however you enjoy that. If there's no difference in resource impact, why are we having an arbitrary limitation? That was my argument.
Mm.
Some of the counter arguments were, well, e-bikes can potentially get you further than your own, you know, willpower. So people may hurt themselves further away and require more resources for rescue. And I'm like, I'm sure there's validity to both sides. That one was hard to digest. But because I was looking at it from a resource standpoint and thinking, if you're going to get hurt, you're going to get hurt. I mean, if you're going to fall off a bike, you're going to
Yeah.
possibly fall off a bike. I can see that
Or
the
if the
speed
bike
of,
dies though, you
and that-
can't get back.
right, and in some of our parks, that's a major issue. So there's arguments on both sides. The enforceability is one of the main things that kind of, I think, kind of tip the scale for us to finally pursue it, is because they're there.
Mhm.
You know, they're on the trail, and there's no easy way for us to say, hey, you're utilizing this. It's like, well, I was pedaling. I wasn't using the electric function. So it's just a bicycle. I mean,
Mhm.
how do I, you know what I mean? From an enforceability standpoint, it's almost unenforceable to say, well, I saw you, unless I'm tailing you 3 miles down a trail and you've never pedaled once, and I can attest to that.
Mhm.
So it comes down to the enforceability side of things, and I know that's a challenge irregardless of this rule or not, but it seems like a hard topic to.
But the issue to me with bikes is not whether, particularly if we don't allow gasoline power,
Mhm.
is not so much whether they are pedal powered or electric powered, it's what they do with them.
Mhm.
You know, how
Yeah.
fast they're going, how many people they run over while they're
Yeah.
getting from, you know.
Yeah.
Point A to point B.
Yeah.
And, you know, and right now, it's apparently allowed people to ride, I mean, you can ride 15, 20 miles an hour on a bicycle without much trouble.
Right.
You can still, they can do that, they can ride as fast as they can ride and stay on the trail
Mhm.
at the moment. And so I don't know that a e-bike is gonna cause more problems. It's the bicycle
It's
that are causing the problems, and the
Speed
bicycle.
of the
that
bicycle, no
cause-
matter how it's powered.
And the speed limit, that's, you know, seems like a really good idea. How you enforce it, I don't know, but, you know,
Yeah, you don't have a,
Radar enforced.
or you don't have a,
we have speed traps out there.
yeah, on your bike, it doesn't tell you how fast you're going.
Right.
So you could download an app.
Well, that even gets even more.
Have it on your.
You probably have more people hurt at 5 miles an hour than you would at 20.
Yeah,
Like staying upright on a boardwalk, 5 miles an hour. Sounds like a challenge potentially.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm wondering if you couldn't craft it so that, like, who would have the right of way?
Right now, the signs out there say, that bicycles must yield to pedestrians. That's like kind of,
I think that's the standard.
Standard
rules
in-
of the road, yeah.
And wildlife also would have the right of way.
yeah,
Has there been many complaints or collisions?
I haven't heard of any collisions, but,
Are people's experience out there ruined because they see a humming, they hear a humming of a e-bike, or I don't have one, so I don't know.
Yeah.
What does it sound
They're-
like?
They're silent.
Okay. so
Yeah,
they're
they
silent.
really
Yeah.
don't make any noise. The hum
Yeah.
you may hear was just 20-mile-an-hour tires running down the road.
Yeah, no. The radio thing, they have radios.
I mean,
Yeah, the problem is that one of the issues that I either had or seen are just the bicycles going by. You know, and
Yeah.
a lot of people stop, walk by, and how you doing, and but not everybody. And it's the,
Yeah.
whatever it is, the 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 that insist on riding by and on your left, get out of the way.
yeah, I had that experience.
And I've often been
Semi-recently.
tempted, but my tripod on my shoulder say, what? But never, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was,
Is there any appetite for like particularly in the nature preserve, just based on what the intent of that property is in that particular area, no bikes? Like we understand people want to have recreational opportunities and ride their bikes. But
Yeah.
the purpose of this land is a nature preserve, not an exercise facility.
yeah, we have, I mean, that idea has definitely been discussed. I don't know.
It's kind of always been my
Yeah,
attitude, but it never prevailed.
you know, I don't know. But then I think about, well, when Salt Island Trail was there, I loved riding my bike out there. I mean, it's a very enjoyable thing, but I would have a beach cruiser and out, move very fast,
Right.
but I was also looking at stuff around. It wasn't just
Yeah.
out there. Trying to exercise really, but I could do without it. My bike, the tires have been flat for about 8 years. Like I see these families out there and, or older people that are kind of, you know, riding a bike, they can get out a mile as opposed to walking. And I feel like I don't want to take that experience away from them, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But then you're out there and there's the guy like pumping it and, you know, but I don't know. I'm not out there every single day, so I don't.
So I guess the other thing, if there's no real reports of like user conflict necessarily
Mhm.
between the two user groups, do we have any data on like the resource impacts as far as how it affects the birds or
Many roadkill.
the fauna, right? Like, are
Yeah,
there tangible resource impacts that should be considered? Because if there's no real user conflict and there's no real, measurable impact, is there a problem?
Yeah, it's gonna be hard
Yeah,
to justify. Or are you seeing areas where maybe they're going off trail?
a little bit, but not any different than the footprints you see. I don't think, but maybe that's at least. I think things we need to think and talk about more, not maybe make a decision today, but with the whooping cranes, I think that there's so many people walking in the winter, it was causing. I don't think the bikes were a bigger issue.
it's certainly a big can that can easily be kicked down the road with never making a decision just because it's so complex and it's so,
Yeah,
there's so many factors involved.
And, there's the whole issue of our adaptive management plan for
Yeah.
whooping cranes.
yeah,
And another thing I think we should
yeah,
revisit,
yeah,
this fall, before the cranes come back. Because nothing was done last year, at least as far as I know, to change anything when the whooping cranes came.
yeah,
There's no restriction on access or movement. But there were, Sandra, to your question, there were some assessments of, I think there were assessments of impact to the whooping crane, but I have no idea
yeah,
what came of that. So, there may be something to work with.
mhm. Yeah, there wasn't as many interactions that I was aware of that, was it last year that the problem is too that, people make broad accusations about where the cranes went when they're wild and they might just go feed somewhere else. Like, I mean, so it's like, how are we, I don't know, sometimes how we can't really say for sure
Yeah.
that, they're not in this exact location when every winter we had them, they've been in all these different locations. And so, and then the conditions are different each year as far as freshwater or food availability or, so I'm struggling with some of that where we did have some good examples of interactions where a group saw them and slowed down and stopped and just watched, you know, that kind of thing was happening out there, but then it's kind of like the bike thing too. There are these people that think they know what they're looking for, but they don't. They're out there just power walking, enjoying the view. And, you know, they're walking, the cranes lift their heads and fly away, but they maybe just go over there, you know, they don't go that far, and that didn't seem like it was too much of a stress on them. So, but I did go to a workshop at the festival with the International Crane Foundation, and they were gonna be analyzing more of the video that Leslie's taken. Because even the trash trucks in their neighborhood, the cranes go like this. And then they look around, you know, and then they kind of go back to foraging. Or that we analyzed a video of a coyote interaction, which went on for, felt like forever. The adults got away from the chick, you know, it was like, so they're actively, I think, still analyzing all that video to kind of see what the real stressors are. But now we're gonna have another trail. So,
Yeah, right in the middle of where their sanctuary was.
so yeah,
near
so
Bobbert.
maybe when they wanna leave that area, they go over to that area, well, then there's another trail there now, so we're gonna have to,
Can you have seasonal closures?
So I would propose that we,
revisit that.
yeah, we plan another meeting where we'll see if we can get some background information and to help us talk about it
Maybe,
and devote
Just gonna
you know,
say-
some time to
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about what we might do.
maybe, the Crane Foundation could give us a presentation and on what they've analyzed.
Yeah. So.
And then we can discuss it.
So we have the bike issue that, I mean, this is gonna be finalized here soon, right? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I mean, there's no like deadline, but once we have all of our edits, it needs to go to council.
So to
times,
confirm,
I
it's not
think.
really an e-bike issue anymore, it's a general bike.
It's a bike.
I think we're deciding
Yes.
between bikes and no bikes.
Yes,
It's no longer like an
I
e-bike.
think you're exactly right. I think you're exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, and if there were bikes, you could put speed limit signs up or something and encourage them to go slow, but enforcing that, even enforcing bicycles in general.
Well, it would be relatively easy if you had no bikes.
Right, well,
If there's anybody out there on a bike and there's no bikes allowed, then, you know,
Yeah.
that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But the e-bike versus regular bike or pedaling your e-bike or speed limits gets harder, but
Well, so the way this is written. Well, it says all motorized vehicles must remain on roadways, driveways, parking areas only.
mhm.
So no, okay, so never mind. I thought we were talking bikes, but we're talking motorized vehicles and that.
Is it gonna cause,
Well, we
Like-
added,
if I see someone on the bike, it's gonna annoy me more to know that they're breaking the bike rule than if someone like flies by me really fast. So is it gonna be more annoying, like more annoying to more people to see people breaking a rule than like the few people that fly through the birding center or the trips? Do you like, And is it just gonna be more rule breakers? Present than? Like that's, you know. what I-
Well, right now, people think that the no e-bike thing is stupid, so they just ride their bike anyway.
Is it a rule yet?
Yeah, because we just, well, we put it on our signs because we like, a bicycle is a vehicle. Considered a vehicle, so it is motorized. It has a motor, so. We put up our signs temporarily saying no e-bikes, like there's no motorized bicycles, because we had already there's certain people in town who had those like weed eater motors on them riding through there, and we had said no motorized vehicles, like, so we just went with that till we could sort this out. But most people are like, yeah, whatever, and they just keep going. And there are a few people that call. I saw the sign, can I ride my bike? The rule followers are worried about it, but most of these people are just like, whatever, and they just continue to ride the bike. So. I don't know.
But Katie, I do think that if we were to adopt a no bike rule, it's pretty
Straightforward.
straightforward.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, you're not gonna have many people riding through and say, oh, this, it doesn't apply to me.
So I guess I'm trying to digest what she said. I guess, is the point there to appease other people or to
Oh.
protect
Yeah,
the resources? Because outlawing, saying no bikes, and still having bikes out there, you're gonna deal with a lot more people that are upset
mhm,
than, so the number of complaints of, I saw a bike, I saw a bike, I saw a bike.
Yeah.
Electric or not, is gonna explode versus the people that say, I saw a bike going really fast,
mhm,
which is probably very limited.
mhm.
yeah. we're
So-
getting-
So if it's about the user conflict, I think you're gonna have less of user conflict. Allowing bikes and e-bikes and dealing with the few people that they were going too fast for me.
And saying there's a speed limit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
like-
it's a resource issue, then we're on a totally different page probably, but
Right, and my phone will be ringing off the hook.
Yeah.
Because,
Facebook will be blowing up.
yeah. But now, here's the other thing. If we said no bikes. How about allowing them on the community park trail? It's a paved parking lot that goes through grasslands and doesn't go near. Whooping cranes, and it leaves from the community park, it goes to the pavilion where there's a lot of families and stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe it's just bikes in designated areas only.
Yeah.
And you sign appropriate trails. Just,
Yeah, that seems,
I mean, that's a
that
standard
seems like
practice in trail
to me
systems.
that, and maybe it is simply the new Salt Island Trail is, especially in the winter, is a no bike
And you could have
trail.
like a sign that you could take off, put up during the whooping crane season. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't wanna say guilt people, but to justify. It's a no bike zone because of the endangered species and all of that, so.
Are the only paved paths that community park and then what's gonna connect Paradise Pond and the community park?
that's paved, and then, at the end of the birding center. To the south trail is. Concrete paved
It's surrounded by non-paved,
boardwalks and, mhm,
so you could just say paved pathways.
mhm.
Because it also connects to all the baseball fields and all the soccer
Mhm.
fields and all that, and then you got kids.
I was gonna say, if
That's what I was
I
saying, the
have no-
community park trail, which half of that was
So-
built before the nature
For
reserve.
the purpose of the ordinance, it seems that you could. Word it so that, gas powered bicycles are not allowed.
Mhm,
And, that. No motorized vehicles are permitted. On. Designated trail or something like that, just some wording so that.
one gas powered bicycle is not allowed. And you leave out the e-bike, or maybe you put it in there to say they're okay,
Well, and
but
by-
put in a,
Cause of the noise.
yeah, this is a noise issue. But put in a sentence that allows for designating some trail as no bike
Mhm.
trail,
yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was.
without saying which ones it.
Yeah, if you
Gonna
go
be
to,
Right,
so there's two kind of locations here where bikes are dealt with. Which doesn't need to stay that way. That motorized thing could just stick with golf carts and cars. 10 says bicycles are allowed on trails and walks except where posted. Bicycles must be walked through Leona Bell and Paradise Pond. For cyclists may use the provided bike racks. So that was there because those are now like these connecting places. But that doesn't mean maybe you just, when you get to Paradise Pond from the neighborhood, you use the bike rack. I mean, I never was thought maybe if you need to get to the other side, you could walk it through, but I don't even need to allow that really. You could ride it on the street around it.
yeah,
But we do have bike racks kind of everywhere now, so there's no excuse. You can lock your bike up.
yeah, I mean, I think keeping it vague where it allows you the ability operationally to designate or undesignated trail without having to rewrite,
Yeah,
city
and as we
code
get
every
new
time,
trail-
like, let's, this is either allowed or prohibited as designated at the trailhead, right? And then whatever y'all decide based on either the season or the
Mhm.
impacts, it may change. It's like, we need to close this one.
Okay. No, that makes me feel better too, because especially that. But we had that in there anyway, saying, except we're posted.
Yeah.
But. It does make it easier and then. You could leave certain trails open, but maybe the South Trail and the Salt Island during the winter are for sure, maybe no bicycles. I mean, who knows? I mean, we've even discussed just no people.
Yeah, they come to that.
So. Okay,
So did you,
and then we
or did
can,
you have any other particular things you wanted us to talk about, and or
No.
anybody else read anything in here that caught your eyes?
and some of this might get like kind of organized a little bit differently because some of the rules and prohibitions were. Repetitive or. Maybe felt like they should be in a different category, but the main ideas won't change. The amplified sound equipment, we did talk about that one last time. Colleen, said, why don't we just go put what's in the noise ordinance too? And saying, or equipment that exceeds 80 decibels, like stereo speakers, amplified music instruments, because James had said, he likes to go out and play his ukulele or something, which is pleasant and quiet, but then we had a man that set up his drum kit and was ready to start drumming in the nature preserve with the whole set.
Like a snare and everything.
Yeah, but we felt like, well, maybe there's a guy just playing his bongos quietly. It's okay, maybe. So we, again, with that decided maybe it was like a level of noise that was the issue. And that's amplified. So that got changed a little bit. And then we moved the use of animal calls to the harassing and harming wildlife area. Because that was kind of mixed in with the amplified sound equipment. So those were the only things that, after we discussed, Colleen and I kind of changed a little bit. So,
Are you allowing, recording? Like birder screen recording?
people do it, but, it's not, it was in here already and. I mean, on a small scale, it's okay, but you don't want like every single person out there doing it, so that's why we left it in there. To use it as needed.
Yeah, yeah. I use it sometimes when I'm on a tour,
Yeah, we've
and I
used
was
some
trying to
programs
figure out,
too.
is there a way that, to say,
But could you get a
Anything
special
like-
permit?
There's a blanket statement on both, all of these that says exceptions to prohibitions and rules may be made when identified in a special event permit approved by the city manager and parks director.
So in that case, I could ask for permission to use the
Mhm.
calls when I was doing that tour.
Yeah, we could also make that maybe,
Or set up your drum set.
yeah,
Yeah.
we could also say, well, it says special event permit, but I don't know if we could say or during a program, because we've used it to call like sparrows especially and stuff like that, and when we're doing a tour.
Mhm.
But for example, like Justin's been doing some night hikes in the nature reserve, so that breaks the rules here, but it's a special event. So we allow it. But I guess I don't know if we had a special event permit signed by the city manager, so maybe we either should change that if it's a city sponsored program or maybe something like that.
Yeah, if this, I mean, it's capitalized, identified in a special event permit, if that's a city thing,
Mhm.
then, you know, maybe you want a different wording there, so if you don't have to have this formal
Yeah, because that's
city
really,
event permit signed by city manager.
yeah. That's, you would get a special event permit if you wanted to have a band and a bounce house out at Roberts Point Park, or, it's pretty extensive things, and maybe also city sponsored programs or something.
Okay, anything else? It would be, it will be much easier to read this and maybe catch things. If all, the review comments are gone,
Yeah,
you just have a clean,
Yeah,
I didn't want to
it's useful to know why it's being.
yeah, I
changed
didn't
and what
want
it
to
was.
remove it all yet.
But
I mean, I'm gonna save this version anyway,
If-
but
if at some point you'd like to have another read,
Mhm.
even if it was not at a meeting.
Yeah.
Just, a clean copy
okay.
would, and I always find, oops, I didn't cut and paste that quite right. you know?
Yeah. Yeah, we can send it out before, even if it's not discussed at a meeting again, just to make sure it all looks good.
and even that kind of going to the comment of like bikes don't have miles per hour. How will you know you have 80 decibels?
Well, the police have a thing.
So you would have to call the police.
Mhm. Yeah, it is tricky.
So it's an enforcement thing.
Mhm. Yeah, because that's and I don't even know what 80 decibels sounds like, so we'll make sure that that is reasonable for a park.
Yeah.
But that's what's in the noise ordinance for the city. I think. So that's what-
Well, you're talking if you're at 42 decibels.
Oh. Want me to scream? I'm just kidding. How did you do that?
Since 80 decibels
Oh.
is fairly loud, it's equivalent to the noise of a busy downtown street.
And I think that's kind of standard.
I get told about it when I'm using a weed eater.
Mhm.
So toilet flushing / vacuum cleaner comes in at 70.
Okay. All
So
right.
that's not very loud.
I always wondered what the bathroom, those, when you like the air.
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
8,000 decibels.
Mhm.
The rocket launcher is 180. It's
Mm. Okay.
Shotgun blast 160.
Well, it says use of amplified sound equipment or equipment that exceeds 80 decibels, i.e. stereos, speakers, amplified music instruments. And electrical sound equipment other than ballpark PA system.
Talk a lot louder and see.
A handheld drill is 100.
I feel.
It's pretty low.
And the issue of decibels also, is relative to the distance from the source.
Yeah,
I've
encountered that.
You're gonna
with
have a
police
hard time
And my
enforcing,
neighbors.
enforcing a decibel limit unless you're able to sneak up behind them with your decibel meter as he's playing.
Well,
drums or-
and what you might have to put in there is a decibel limit at a distance.
Oh,
So you may have to put in there at 100 feet or, some, because, if I do this, I'm getting pretty close.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's what the police said when the like party's going on in the backyard, my bedroom's towards there, but then they're at the street measuring it, so they're not in violation.
But I think that
But-
may be important to put a distance
Mhm.
in there so that, you walk up, okay, you're over there at that car making noise and I'm here 100 foot away and,
Mhm.
it's 80 decibels, it's too loud.
Yeah, the noise one, I think, has a,
If you're able to write the law with enforcement in mind, I
Mhm.
think you can craft a better law, right? And so, if you know things that are causing you like, what are the most common things that are gonna happen out there? And
Mhm.
again, amplified equipment, things like that are easily discernible. I think specifying as much as you can, it's like
yeah,
drum sets or not, I mean, you can't write a encyclopedia on it, but,
clarifying those
yeah,
things.
but just putting a noise level is gonna be it's gonna be hard for them to
Yeah.
actually ever be able to prosecute that. Just because of how much ground they would have to cover to get close. By the time they get there and get an audible reading,
Mm,
they're gonna have stopped doing whatever it is they were doing.
Yeah.
It'd be hard.
Plus they're outside and then you have wind
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
that's gonna come up, or is it gonna carry? I think it's also important to think. What are we protecting? Are we protecting, again, the other visitors' experience out there,
Mhm.
or are we focusing on the nature preserve and the wildlife? And their reaction
Yeah,
to this noise?
that's,
think
it's
it's
for
all
all
of the above.
parks, so it's both. But,
Ours is general, like in the parks, we have quiet hours and it's created disturbance by any means.
mhm,
Right, and so it's a general statement that can be from you playing the bongo.
Yeah.
To your dog barking, like whatever it may be, it's like it,
people are trying to sleep.
yeah, we're not trying to define every single thing under the sun. Just the fact that you're making a disturbance,
Mhm.
so.
Like the only time that we've actually put this into regulation, is when we have surface use agreements around oil and gas. And we have either prairie chickens or other sensitive species nearby. But we have had, and actually 80, I believe, is the decibel. That was kind of what we landed on, but it was difficult because we're on the coast.
Mhm.
And then the wind.
Yeah.
Well, I guess this isn't just saying that's the only criteria, that it like can't be amplified at all. Or something that's making that much noise. This, I thought about the drums, I was like, that's not plugged into
It's not
something,
amplified, but it's really noisy.
yeah, and it would scare, no wildlife would be probably hanging out near that. Or people, no one's gonna wanna sit
And-
anywhere near
Yeah.
that.
Like I said, ours relates to lights. I mean, like, if you, set up your spotlights to light up your own campsite and you're flooding the person next to you,
Yeah,
that's a disturbance,
Right.
right? So it can be more than just sound.
yeah,
But if you're camping and you're next to someone with a generator.
Yeah, we don't, and it deals with that too, right? So.
those were very loud.
I know.
Okay,
Now, this is really complicated.
So are you
Yeah.
gonna change that amplified part? And I think it,
yeah, we'll look at the distance, we're gonna also go through this with the police. So we do have a new police chief. Chief Stokes, so this was it was better to wait for this, with a new leader, so, and make sure any changes we made are all right with them. So, before we take it to council. But there's no
And
timeline.
there is some kind of sound disturbance, the city ordinance, right? I mean, you're
Yeah.
talking about that, so,
Uh,
seem like it could be crafted the same way, although you'd have to change the noise level because,
yeah,
you know, they allow pretty loud sounds from live bands, you know,
yeah, the certain hours of the day.
Yeah.
Changes,
certain districts.
yeah, yes, if you're in the music entertainment district. You can have louder music later and stuff like that, so.
okay. Anything else? But I do think it would be useful to, I don't, can't tell what the schedule is for doing this, but be useful. Everybody at least have a chance to look at a
Up version,
copy that's looks like the final.
okay, yeah,
Got the markups in.
good.
How well that done. Okay, okay, so that's it. So our final, so I have on here, well. That's, this next item is place where I should say this. So our final item, on the agenda, is board member comments and items of future consideration. So. Anybody have,
I mean, I think the things you've already suggested. For
Yeah,
future
so-
consideration, yeah, but nothing.
I have the adoptive management plan. The whooping cranes, kayak access and the Paradise Pond parking. Which those don't all have to come up next meeting, but we'll figure out. Whether more. Where,
yeah, but I think
especially the kayak and the Paradise Pond, maybe depending on. Doesn't really matter, which one, I guess.
well, I think the adaptive management for our hooping cranes, that we need to, I
Yeah,
mean, that's gonna happen.
yeah, we need to do
And we
that
know
next
when.
time.
The kayak launch and parking lot, we can do that during the winter, but. Probably early next month, we need a meeting as. A major item on the agenda is
Yeah, well, there's.
adaptive management plan for the crane.
So, did you want me to, email Carter, the Crane Foundation and see if he or someone else can come and when, and then kind of. Come up with a meeting, date, maybe the
I think that would be
First
useful
week of-
if you think, I mean, I don't really know who it is that
November.
is working on that or knows that, but Crane Foundation. Is probably the least biased source of,
Yeah, and they were doing the analyses of the videos and the behavior.
That information, I think, too, will help us kind of. Digest or come to some comfort level with some of the other regulations that we've discussed too.
Yeah,
Have you had any whooping cranes come down to the backside of Mustang Island?
Not that we know of, not that's been reported or cited.
Yeah, we haven't either that I know of at Cone, but then we get hunted too.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of it.
they,
We have so much public access and
mhm. Oh, yeah. They were, across from Pioneer RV quite a bit last year
Oh, okay.
in those wetlands.
it's a good area.
Mhm.
Undeveloped.
Yeah, they, it seemed like the same ones, maybe going back. They went over there for a little while.
I saw them back by Coyote,
Mhm.
a couple of times too. Which is just the other side of Island Mooring Development.
Yeah,
So I think that we should.
Okay.
Should plan another meeting here and, it may not even be that'll probably be a month from now, something like that. But if you can find out if they will come and when they come,
and then check with everyone,
We'll
get a
gotta
few
work
dates from
around
them.
work around that. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? This meeting is adjourned.
All right, thank you.